Sensors online. Weapons online. All systems nominal.
This guy seems to be shooting at me. Perhaps he does not realize he deals with the mighty Toxked in his legendary Cicadia. I have speed. I have some of the best firepower available in the light category of weapons, and I know how to use them. I will dodge and weave, use terrain, swing around on this flank. I shall sweep around behind him and mercilessly attack him, exposing the sections of his armor. I shall make him suffer. Granted, I mean, I am one-on-one. I don't have numbers. Well, I got that other guy helping me. So, you know, okay, we're going to be fine. We're going to be fine. Yeah, I'm going to take this guy. I'm going to make him suffer. I'm going to make him pay. I'm going to come at him from unexpected angles and directions and use my weapons. Oh, he's got some help too, so it brings it back to a one-on-one basis. And yeah, well, I can still take him. After all, I have speed. I have the mighty little Cicadia. The Cicadia. Maybe I'm losing my touch. Maybe I should look into something faster. But what could be faster than the Cicadia? The Locust. That would be faster. But what is this Locust little mech? For those of you who are not familiar with the classic Battletech, this mech will seem strangely out of place and make absolutely no sense. Fast, fragile, and seemingly pointless. And in this game, maybe it is. But I'll give a thorough review and explain to you what the point is of this crazy little mech. First, you have to understand, in classic Battletech, if you were running a mercenary unit, and if you were running a force that had to buy its own units, build things, put things together, you could do several things. And if you had a X amount of money, you could buy whatever you wanted to build it. The Locust was pretty much the cheapest mech and still be an effective mech. Depending on the version, I think the cheapest one was 1.2 million. Bounce around with that, and 1.5 million. You literally could have a choice. Do I want to field 4 Locusts in 1 Lance, or do I want to buy a Hunchback or a Quick Draw? Actually, Quick Draws you could actually get like 5 or 6 Locusts for them. I mean, literally, if you want it in 3025 tech, it varied a little when you go up in 3050, but this is the basic math equations. You could buy an Atlas D for 10 million, or you could field 7 or 8 Locusts. And if you faced them off, the Locust would win. If you took an Atlas K for around 22 million, you could field about 18 or so Locusts. And I assure you the Locust would win, that kind of swarm. In point value systems, the Locust 1E and the Jenner F were the backbones of any army I built, any force, because the Locust, depending on the version, was around, well, they also had several different versions. They had the battle value, the combat value, and I think they came up with a third one, kept trying to refine a few things and tweak it. Literally, you could build, you could take for 700 points, you could take a Locust 1E, I think it was, 700 and some odd. There was some change in there. Or I could take a Thunderbolt or a Grasshopper or a number of other mechs for a few thousand. And it's like, gee, do I want a Lance or a single mech? You know, those numbers work. If you go with tonnage, the Locust, only 20 tons. Atlas is 100. You could do 5 Locusts or 2 Hunchbacks. And the Hunchbacks would be sweating if they faced 5 Locusts, let me tell you. So that's the reason this mech had received such legendary status, is it was so cheap. If you got dispossessed, lost your mech, if you were playing in a campaign or something, it was pretty easy to get hold of a Locust as a replacement. And if you knew how to use it, you could use it to great effect. But does that effectiveness translate into the game? Let's take a quick look at that. You have 3 different versions that I've seen. I've looked into the buying list. There might be others, but I don't think so. Maybe they're coming out with some. Who knows? Alright, the point is, with the Founders Pack, you get the Locust 1V with a P in parentheses, but I don't know what the point of that is, if it differentiates from something else. But it has 4 ballistic, 1 energy, and 1 anti-missile system. You have the 3M with 5 energy and 2 anti-missile systems. You have the 3S with 1 energy, 4 missile, and 1 anti-missile system. You can, if you put the biggest engine you can in it, it can take up to 190 rating. If you make it an XL, it only weighs like 6 tons. And it will crank this sucker up to 153.9 kilometers an hour in standard gravity. Speed tweak would probably jump it over 160 kilometers an hour. That's fast. This is the 1V version. The machine gun's blasting away and a small laser. The problem is, I don't know if you noticed while I'm running around here, a little bit of damage from the drop. Literally made my legs yellow. This thing has almost no armor. The dynamics of Battletech, as you go up in the tonnage, you have more internal structure and therefore can carry more armor. And as your total weight increases, you can carry total more amount. As you go up in the tonnage, it requires a larger and larger engine to keep the mech up to speed. That's where the rating comes in. Without going into a big elaborate explanation of the math, because you're either an old Battletech, in which case you're going to know all this, or you're not a Battletecher, you just want to play the game, and you're here like, I don't care, just what do I do? Translation is, it's more efficient to have a smaller mech go faster than it is a bigger mech. But a bigger mech simply can't carry the engine. It's just not possible. The smaller mechs simply cannot carry the arsenal. They don't have the armor to take a beating. That's why I like the Cicadia. At 40 tons, it's a nice balance between high speed, still having adequate internal structure to take some damage, and being able to carry some arsenal. I've not played around with the Jenner, and perhaps in the future I will. I just haven't had a lot of time and interest in it right now. I have run a few different ones. And so it's just, I'm not sure what their top speed is, so I can't go into a specific explanation. But the Locust just doesn't translate well. I would not recommend it for serious players. Well, if you were a serious player, go for it. If you're looking for a casual mech just to play with, I would not recommend it, because it will be a lot of frustration, because this thing cannot take damage. You practically get looked at and you take damage. It is very hard to run this thing. If a fast mech alone has to avoid combat and damage, can't stay in a prolonged fight just because it can't take any damage, then the Locust is the extreme version of that. This is something you would just want to use in just the briefest of skirmish and observational roles. Just spot the enemy and run for it. While it is much smaller, it isn't necessarily harder to hit. I've noticed players have gotten better at dealing with small, fast mechs because they can be so effective. What's interesting to me is you don't even see the legging like you used to. People don't even go for the legs. It's like they just go for that center torso and gun those small, fast mechs down. So this mech is not for the beginners, and it is not for the casual gamer. You'll find this no end of frustration. But you can have a lot of fun with it. And I'll explain why. With this one, I basically ran out of ammo, and I think I took a little bit of damage. No, I still have my small laser. So I ran out of ammo, and that's all I have left, is I'm just running around. And I can just go cap and harass, basically. If I have somebody chasing me, there's nothing I can do to them. This one doesn't have a speed tweak yet, because I just haven't been able to grind on them that obsessively. but it's quite.
Left flag critical damage.
Running a fast mech anyway requires skill and a degree of luck, and this one is even more so.
Right flag
As I said, if they
critical
look
damage.
at you, you're taking damage. And there goes my leg,
Destroyed. Heat sink
and
destroyed. Target acquired.
soon I go. Yep, there I go. This is the Locust
Sensors
3M with the
online. Weapons
5 medium
online.
lasers. I'm going to be doing some weapon tests
All
as they run
systems
along here,
online.
trying to get my weapons configurations set for my different groups. But with the Locust, it doesn't translate well to this game, and what I mean by that is you can't get it in numbers. Basically, if it's one player with one mech, 12 players on each side. So I'm not able to say, okay, I'll take 5 Locusts, 4 Jenner Fs, and then I'll fill in the rest with a few heavy hitters. If one team takes all Locusts, they're not going to be that effective. Arguably, they're just going to be a suicide mission, trying to run them, because the mech is so fragile. This one with 5 small lasers can be very fun, because it is very small, it is very fast, it is... Once I get a few things upgraded, it will be more agile and work better. But it's just... It's not really an effective light mech. Outside of very brief skirmishing, kind of spotting roles, what does strike me as interesting is this version can actually take 2 anti-missile systems. This got me thinking, what if I put 2 anti-missile systems, 1 ton of ammo, the 5 small lasers, and then maxed out the armor as best I could? You might be able to do, I'm sure you could do, I'm not sure if you'd want to spend the money for it, and get all the upgrades to it, such as the Endosteel, Ferrofibrous, etc. Then put in the biggest engine you could of the XL type. It'd be a little slower, but if you kept that in close with the main strike force, that could be actually more effective.
Right arm
Simply
destroyed.
because
Small laser destroyed.
the bigger mechs would draw the attention, and this little
Target
guy
acquired.
giving all this additional anti-missile system support against missiles quick enough so when things do engage, they can try to maneuver around behind them, do back shots, and just be a little more of a supporting role. Wouldn't be a big attraction of fire. So that might be an interesting role. I'm not sure if I'll actually do it, but that just kind of struck me as
Target
interesting. It
acquired.
could be an interesting idea for a close support mech version.
No
It'd
target
probably still
acquired.
have a speed over 100 kilometers an hour, but just interesting. Something to think about, and just some creativity you can use with the mech and taking it out of its normal roles. This is the Locust 3S version. It's capable of having 1 energy weapon and 4 missile mounts and a point defense system. I only put
Warning,
4
incoming
Streak
missile.
SRM2s in it because I thought it might be effective given the space limitations. The role I was thinking with this one might work well and is actually to counter other small, fast mechs running around. Get on their tail, fire a couple streaks at them since they lock in. There's a problem with the SRMs in general. I'm not a big fan of SRMs in this game. Streaks in this game, they don't arch up
Target
and down
acquired.
like the other ones do, so they don't really go around terrain. So most of my volleys in the first engagement there actually hit the ground, different hills around them. And they don't really turn very sharp, so if your target's going perpendicular to you at high speed, it's kind of hard to get them to actually hit. Here I run up, hide behind the drill rig here for the resource game, and there's a problem. I'm basically stuck here. While I have great speed, I can't take any damage. Up close, it's easier to avoid. But if I can put some distance between us, it's easier for him to lead direct on me. Just lost my leg, and now he just starts blowing me to pieces. I just start unloading into them, trying to see if I can take them with me. And that's all I can do. Here's another match. I was just doing a little scout
Target
work, see if
acquired.
there's something I can spot, fire off the missiles, and start taking fire, keep on running. Hopefully I was going to lure him into a little bit of an ambush with some friendly players here. What's really nice with the Locust being so small, so low, it does have a couple distinct advantages. It's able to hide in water, for starters. Terrain it can easily hide in the lower profile, but water actually prevents damage, and when you, or at least reduces damage. When you have water up to your cockpit, in fact, some of the maps I believe you can go completely submerged and you can just be
New
totally
target
disappear.
acquired.
And it's like, what are you guys going to do? It can be quite a challenge to try to deal with these little maps. I think it'll just be a matter of time before one of two things will happen. People learn how to deal with the Locust. It's cool factor is going to wear off and people are going to drop it. People are going to kind of deal with it, so it's not going to be really effective, which I don't think it really is that
25%.
effective. It's just a novelty, and it's a fun mech.
Level critical.
Right now I'm running around trying to do a little bit capping. The problem is with this design, if you are a better shot, you think you could do it without the streak, you know, more power to you. I'm not a fan of the SRM, as I said. So I have 1 ton of ammo, which is 100 missiles,
Enemy base
2
is
missiles in
being
each
captured.
shot,
New
so
target
that's
acquired.
50 shots. 4 SRM rack 2s in here, so that means I've got about 12 volleys. So that means I'm very, very short on ammo to start with. Right now I got another Locust on my tail. It's the machine gun version. I get a lock on him and try to use some of my volleys on him, but
New
I
target
basically
acquired.
have 1 shot on him and then I'm out because they shot me earlier. Because the SRMs don't arch up at all.
SRM
Of course, they're intended for shorter range, but I find them to be very poor in their accuracy simply because intervening terrain is so easy to hit them. Earlier, I was shooting at something out of the water, and I fired, and it went up and actually was hitting the edge of the dock. That's just frustrating. So I'm completely out of ammo, so I come out here and start spotting, making sure LRM hits from some of the other missile boats in the game. And we not only hear the machine gun of the Locust trying to pursue me, but I'm in the water, basically,
New
making
target
myself
acquired.
indestructible. Just keep spotting, and hopefully luring that other Locust into its death, like combating one of the others here. I'm not going to say don't mess with it all. If you got it in the Founders Pack or something, just sell it. Just,
New target
unload it. It's
acquired.
not worth it. I wouldn't say that at all. It will either be a fun novelty for you,
acquired.
or you'll
Base
find it
is being
incredibly
captured.
frustrating to try to run. Right now the base is under attack, so I'm going to run back to their base and try to cap it since I started it earlier, before it was jumped by the other Locusts.
Base is being
I
captured.
really can't think of much else to talk about with the Locust because it's just, there's not much to say. You have crate paper for armor. You have toothpicks for internal structure. Your armament,
Enemy base
the
is being
space you
captured.
have for the armament is almost non-existent, forcing you to take the lightest versions of weapons. And that's about all you got. You're a cockpit with legs, basically.
Enemy
I
base is
think
being captured.
The speed is the only thing keeping you alive, and it's not particularly effective in this game because you can't have the numerical advantage that the Locust really depends on. It really was a true
Enemy base is
swarm
being
mentality
captured.
mech
Base is being
in
captured.
classic BattleTech. You can do a little bit better with the Endosteel Ferrofibrous. Again, you have ample room in it since it doesn't have the hand and lower arm actuators, freeing up more space. You don't have a lot of weight to carry
Enemy
things in
base is
general.
being captured.
So you're in no
Base is being
risk
captured.
of running out of space. But Endosteel's 50% of the weight, so that's going to free up 1 ton. And ferrofibrous is going to free up at best
Enemy
a half
base is
ton.
being captured.
It's
Base
not
is
much.
being captured.
Now,
Base.
to this mech, it's a lot. Excuse me, sir. I need to tell you something. Sir, you don't have to
Base
run
is
around.
being captured. Enemy base
So you really
is
don't have to run
being
around in
captured.
circles like that when you're trying to capture a base and if you're a fast mech. The only thing that really does is prevent you from noticing when another mech comes in to try to break the cap. Because there's a little over 50% chance
Enemy base is
when you're
being
running
captured.
around that he's going to come on and see you and either start shooting at your back or your front or whatever it is. While you're in motion, you're not really increasing the chances that you won't get hit. Your better bet is to hide behind
Enemy base
the
is being
either
captured.
drill rig or whatever territory around. Set up an angle, your direction, look around, and the instant something comes up, just hit your throttle and just take off. This mech can't take much damage, and it's not going to deliver much damage. I think the best of all my matches I ever did was like 150, maybe I hit 200 damage, and that's almost an amazing thing I lived that long. So that's the Locust. Hope you guys like it, because it is fun to run. Until next time, see you around. Game on.